I started Jeff's Burgers in September of 2013. Been in the burger business for 16 years now. My mom and dad have previously been in the business for 33 years, and my grandmother and grandfather actually started in the burger business in 1949, so we're 4 generations in the burger business. What separates us from our competition is we serve 100% American ground beef. We serve 100% real cheese. All our produce is cut fresh daily. We have over 50 menu items to choose from. My name is Jeff. Try us out one time and we'll win your business.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock. Time to call the meeting to order. Call the roll, Chris.
Mitchell Burnett.
Here.
Doyle Cannon.
Here.
Jerry Dodd.
Yes.
David Jackson.
Yes.
Sharon Paredes.
Here.
Buddy Wallace.
Here.
Raymond Yerby.
Here.
Okay, next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Previous meeting.
The only thing is I brought up 2 new items under new business, and that was I gave everybody a copy of the current status of our corporation. We didn't get the copy last week. I'll give you another one. Then in addition to that, I had an excerpt from this legal guide for Arkansas nonprofits. They were not on the list. I guess to a certain degree, if I take the time to try to put something together, it's certainly new business if I'm a board member. So I guess I would make a motion to approve the minutes with the addition of the of a statement that gave the current status that we're a corporation, nonprofit corporation in good standing, along with there was an excerpt from the legal guide for Arkansas nonprofit, which was only about 20 pages out of about 160 pages for economy's sake. However, if anybody would like the full copy of this nonprofit guide from one of the attorneys up at, I think she was from the Rose Law Firm, along with even Governor Beebe puts a little thing on the second, I can certainly email you to it. It's 160 pages. And then I make a motion we approve the minute with those 2 additions.
Second it.
Motion made and seconded that we approve the minutes with the addition of the 2 items Jerry just described. Any discussion?
Well, I'd like to let Mr. Dodd know that I appreciated getting them. I was relatively familiar with the nonprofit status and the do's and don'ts kind of it, but I was very appreciative to receive the items.
Well, I thank you very much, David.
Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Burnett.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Dodd.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Paredes.
Yes.
Wallace.
Yeah.
Yerby.
Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda is approval of bills, including the bills since the package.
I have a question about the very first item. And again, it's just because I don't know what things are, but it's the ABI insurance, and then it has, I guess, awnings
That's the fire
for
coverage for all of the
all the
stations.
different things that are, and that's monthly,
No, that's yearly. That's an annual
yearly.
thing.
Okay, they just happen to be on this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me ask you something. Is that partly through the county?
No, that one's not.
And I guess why was it and there was a lot of questions over at the quorum court the other night. Why was that one insurance company check went through the county?
Yeah, I've got the information on that. I was going to talk to y'all about it. That is the fleet insurance. So to do any of the, we send them a copy every year of all of our.
Well, I mean, is it the same insurance as the county or something?
The county does all the fleet insurance, they do the road department.
Oh, I
the,
see, okay,
The sheriff's
all right.
department, and we send a check over there. Our portion this year was.
It doesn't actually go through the county, it's just, we tag
Is that
on
our
to
only insurance that we tag along with him on?
Yes.
Okay.
That's,
all
that's
right.
the fleet, it's for the vehicles, and I believe that's to be able to keep the government status and the.
Well, it probably
property status on
certainly,
vehicles.
it certainly helps to do that, because that way we don't have to pay the federal tax on the fuel, and even register the vehicles too, as a commercial vehicles.
Yes.
Which probably at the end of the day saves us 20 to 30% on fleet cost. And how often is that paid? Just out of
Yearly.
Yearly, okay, yearly. Yeah.
It's, in January is when it gets paid. We write a check directly to US Bank to pay our portion, and this was, the copy you got to share, our portion was $1,749.
So that's the one check that we have that would probably would save the county on when it came back through.
Actually, when we send that check off.
No, when we get it back.
Oh, it comes through Gallagher Insurance, and then we budget it when we send the budget request. Last month, I sent the budget request and requested that back because I had to turn it back to the county.
Was it
to
made out to
rebudget.
them or what?
It was made out to Hot Spring County with our address on it.
Oh, I see, I got you. Okay, I got you.
They mailed the check here, but I had to turn it back over to the
Oh, I understand.
judge's office to have it
Terrific.
reappropriated.
red tape. What's your pleasure, anybody want?
I'll make a motion, we approve the bills if no one has no further questions.
I second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Burnett,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Dodd,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Paredes,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Yerby.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is administrative report. Turn it over to you, please.
And then we'll talk about wood grinding. Edward will get the wood grinding.
Incoming wood, we have 534.10 tons. Incoming dust, we have 540.39 tons. For a total of 1,074.49 tons. Outgoing product, we have 1,533.22 tons. Nothing on these. Questions?
How's the holes doing in the yard?
Concrete?
Right, yes.
They're there. Try to keep them cleaned up, just keep an eye on it. They can't tell no difference.
They're still safe though.
Yes, sir. Got the plate over the one, so.
Did you move a plate?
Yes.
You moved a plate, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, okay, all right. Well, that's good, you know. Best thing to do is just keep an eye on it.
Yes, sir.
I think as you notice, he showed that there's more going out right now than there is coming in, so we are using quite a bit out of the old North Yard material that got ground up, which is good.
Yes.
And I think you said you're down to about how much in Bay 10?
18, we're down to about a quarter, it was full, front to back, 800 foot long, somewhere roughly. Then, we're down to about a quarter of the bay left.
That stuff been there for years too, hasn't it?
Well, couple of years, yes, sir.
From,
It come out of the north yard, it was a stockpile. I don't know how it got there, that was before me, but it was a stockpile that we moved it all in the building, ground it up, and stored it. And I've been using it as I need it.
okay, was that pile that you were grinding out of today?
No, so that's all the new stuff coming in.
Okay.
It's in Bay 10. I don't know if you cruised down that far. You know where Bay 8 was, where the trucks were?
Yeah, yeah.
We keep going down, there's Bay 10. And
It's in
all the
there.
way at the other end, yes, sir.
Okay.
I did send out the prices that we got back on the appraisals for the land at Donaldson and the office building. The land at Donaldson came in at $8,000, and the office they appraised at $80,000. Is there anything that you wish to do with that right now, or?
Well, I guess what I would say to do is we ought to consider that maybe you write a letter to maybe 2 or 3 of the realtors in town and see what they could do to market that for us.
I don't know on that either. Does that have to be bid because it's real estate? or is
David?
Can it be listed?
Well, I think you're gonna have to comport with state purchasing law, but I don't at this point see any reason not to list it. But you're gonna have to put it out for sale at some point if you want to. If you even come within shouting distance of an $80,000 asking price, my first question is, are we gonna have a buyer?
What latitude do we have that after you've had it out and your best deal is just 60,000, let's say?
Well, you guys know me, and I don't usually like to freelance very much. I like to play them straight because, as you may gather, we get observed from time to time. So I think that we're always better off coming as close to actual value than not. I would rather not have to deal with giving somebody a lowball deal because it's going to be scrutinized.
My question on that was actually wasn't appraised by a real estate appraiser, that it was appraised by the county assessor.
Basically, if you went and asked Blake, what he would tell you is this. He uses that service, and he just went to his latest numbers. I can almost guarantee you and ran that service on over.
Yes.
So, yeah, that guy is an actual appraiser. In fact, I don't know, I did go for the equalization board a couple of years ago, and I finally figured it out. That guy does all the work. In fact, he wants to have it all worked out beforehand. He don't even want to go into the equalization board. In fact, he'll even work with you. Now, on the other hand, if you just think that your bill needs to be lowered, they don't work much along that line. That's my opinion on one version. But is there any prohibition in the law against listing this with the realtor?
We're going to, if we were to list, we're still going to need to comply with state purchasing. But if we're getting value, I don't see any clear prohibition against that. I don't think we have to put it out for auction, for instance.
Right.
And just see who shows up. And I think there's a certain amount of responsibility as board members to see what's it worth, what's the market like, and is it a good move for us to explore that given current market conditions. But understand we have to do the diligence on it.
The biggest spot is at $8,000.
2 acres.
And where is it, in Friendship?
No, right on Highway 67, just before you get to the overpass, just before you get to the Hot Spring County Water Association office.
It's immediately adjacent to the Water Association office.
Is that going to be a fair price to ask for something like that in that area?
Well, let me ask you this, Mitchell. Is it buildable for a house? I mean,
Well-
to me, that's what it boils down to. I don't know the piece of property.
Let's
but-
see, it's just like at the water office is built a building there, they're a pretty good sized building and
It would
parking lot
have-
and all that.
I think it would have to have some minor, but it's nothing any more than you're gonna have to do for any other relatively leveled out parcel of land that's already been cleared, and there's nothing on it but, grass and weeds. It's not like they're gonna have to clear a lot of timber off or move a lot of dirt. To do something on it, I think would be very minor amount of prep work before you could put something in like what's sitting right next to it.
The water off, one of the, I believe it was Kyle Gregory, spoke with the maintenance guy, our maintenance man, and said that they were interested in buying it.
Yeah, they are.
And it was, and this is again my opinion, but I feel like that the best buyer that we probably got out there for it right now would be the water company.
Can we
It's-
sell it directly to the water company, if it comes back for $8,000, David?
They're a non-profit,
They're gonna be in,
a co-op type.
Yeah, they're a co-op.
yeah, they're gonna be in, I'm gonna guess they're tax exempt and then be in harm in the state.
Well, they have the same CPA we do. He tells us what.
Well, I would think that as long as we're getting value, we're gonna be in a good spot. But that's really the key, are we getting value?
Well, I guess if everyone's in favor of what I would say is have the administrator write them a letter and say, please make an offer. And if we're not paying realtors fees out of it, then you could always, depending on how you figure
I mean,
value up.
Their board can do the same thing that Chris had done as far as finding out what it's appraised at. All he's got to do is walk in over at the courthouse and say, look up this piece of property, what's it appraised for? And they're going to tell him just like they told us. And so, then it's going to be getting down on the situation of how much worse, how much more than the appraisal value is it worth to you, or how much more to the appraisal value plus or minus is it worth to us?
Well, and if there's a possibility it's going to be assessed at higher than what the market will bear. That's why you have equalization. I suppose we could probably have Alan Bullock or somebody do us an appraisal on both pieces if we wanted. And around here, I think Alan's reputation work product is solid enough. I don't think anybody really would challenge it. Alan probably did most of the appraisals on the homes we're living in now. So.
That is a nice flat piece of ground there. It's been all smoothed off.
Yeah, it was timber
Yeah.
when they bought it, and they had it cleared and
It's
leveled.
been kept mowed and bush hogged.
Already has the driveways.
Got the
covered there
driveways,
with the leaves.
so I think it's worth that or more, yes.
Well, I guess the first thing to do is we want Chris to write a letter and say this piece of the property is available and we'd like to sell it without going through a realtor. Are you
Make that
interested?
a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion that we have Chris write a letter to whatever the Water Association.
Spring County Water Association.
The Hot Spring County Water Association, saying the 2 acres is available. We'd appreciate a reply from them.
I
And
second.
do you want me to mention a price, or would you like them
I
to
don't
come
think
back?
so.
with
No,
a
I would
price?
just
A
let
viable
yeah.
offer.
A
Okay.
viable offer, yeah.
If they would like to make a viable
And
offer.
I guess we could put one other thing in there, a viable offer that provides value to another public entity. I know it's a mouthful, but that's what you guys are saying. I don't know anything about selling public property.
I would probably say as required by state statute.
Okay, as required by
And then
state statute.
I will coordinate with Chris on how we write that.
Very good.
10-4, sound like a good deal.
It would cost a lot just to put the driveways in, so
Yeah.
they're nice wide.
Yeah, the highway department don't do that
No.
no more.
Those tiles are expensive now.
And it's 2 acres, Highway 67 frontage, just out of the Donaldson city limits. I don't know when Donaldson might blow up again one of these days, but it might, And I mean, it's 2 acres right outside on the highway.
Is there a second?
I second.
Yeah.
Call the roll. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Burnett,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Dodd,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Paredes,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Derby. Did you want me to go any further on the office building?
Well, I would myself, what I'd like you to do is, is to go out and, do we have 3 realtors here in town? do we have two? We have three? I guess what I'd like you to do, my suggestion is to have you write a letter saying, would they desire to list this? And since we're a public entity, we want to know what the terms are, see what they come back with, a written reply, sort of like a, I don't know, what would you call that?
David done,
It's putting out an offer for bids,
Right.
more or less.
Well, yeah, for the three realtors.
Yeah.
I guess the first question is, do we think we need a realtor to sell it? I think we do, but you guys might have another idea.
This building?
Yeah.
Which?
I think
which
putting a for sale sign out there is
three
not gonna
are we
hack it.
considering?
what,
McClure, Jones, and
which realtors?
which three realtors?
Well, I know McClure and Young,
McClure,
and then I
Jones.
guess there's a couple realtors here in town working for that, let's see here.
Shelley Snowden does a lot of work here.
Shy Lark or whatever it's called, I'm not even saying it right. Shy Lake or something.
Harmony Tidwell works.
No, we have to
She's local.
Right.
offer that publicly to the realtors.
That's-
We have run an ad in the paper and see who
I think
wants
we
to
would
take
probably
it.
need to do like an RFP would be the safer way to do that, and we could certainly do that.
All right, that sounds good to me. Are you gonna help Chris prepare that?
Be happy to.
Alrighty. Well, I'll make a motion then. I'll make a motion that Chris and our attorney prepare an RFP and specifically send it to the 3 or 4 realtors here in town and then make it generally available for anybody else. Would we need to run an ad in the paper too, saying the RFP is available?
I think that's
I
a safer way.
It would
to
be
do it.
better, yeah. I
Alrighty.
think that'd be better.
And we run an
way to do
ad
it.
in the paper.
I mean, you can still send the realtors the letters on
Yeah.
it, you know, but
Right.
if you put it in the paper, then you can't have some,
That's
well,
from the
say like
bad
Wayne
sense.
Woodall out at Bismarck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him come over here and say, hey, y'all didn't tell me, it was for sale, I'd have bought it, you know. And so if you put it in the paper, well, then it's, I think, according, that makes it legal right there.
I think you just list it
Right.
and let whoever wants to submit it.
Okay. All right.
We'll put it in that form, I'll second it.
Okay.
What happens if we put a for sale sign out front?
Well, since we've had a lot of buildings for sale around here, I don't know if it would sell, I don't
Yeah.
know.
This is one of the nicer ones.
I know what the Historical Society paid a couple of years for their building up there. I'm not saying this is as nice or big as that one, but I know what they paid. And it was less than a third, but that could have been a one-time good deal. Right at a third from what this is listed for.
Any further discussion? Did get a second, you
I
seconded
did,
it.
yeah.
Call the roll, please.
Burnett,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Dodd,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Paredes,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Derby.
Yes.
Too much candy.
I guess I have one more discussion, and I think I've heard you say this before, Chris, but you do believe that there is adequate office space out at the East Center, correct? Yeah,
Yes.
you said that before, but I just wanted to make sure. Okay,
There's-
all right.
There's plenty of space, but we've got 3 offices in there.
Doyle and I went out there this morning. And look, there's lots of space out there.
Yeah.
Lots of space.
The-
Some of it's not so nice.
They might be kind of small, the rooms. I don't know, there's not one there this size.
Well, the bigger one out front
The 3
is.
in the front.
Yeah, that's
the
what-
3
That
offices.
one
Yeah.
big one up front.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Then we could set this up so people over here could hear us better.
Yeah.
Yes, we could sit right out in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, you could, I mean, you could honestly could put this table right out in the middle of it, and you could have chairs on that side and chairs on this side, and probably still have room to put chairs down both sides this way. I don't think we're ever gonna need that many chairs, but,
Still get the TV in here.
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry for that diversion, I just wanted to make sure that we all agreed on that.
Yep.
Normally talk about the sale of the old grinder. We do have 3 bids that Mr. Burnett will be opening later. The uniforms, I put something out on the table. It is a letter that I received from UniFirst. That is their final and actually pretty good offer to buy out the uniforms. It was going to cost around $3,500, I believe, to buy out what we had. If we do buy these at that price, then it's a done deal. We're out of our contract. We won't owe them anything else. We have not paid them since October because they have been trying all that time to get all of our accounts straightened out.
What's the monthly amount?
The monthly amount?
Would have been average.
It was a little over $1,000 a month.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
they wipe it all out for 1,500.
Yeah.
Yes, and we keep everything we have here.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's
The
true.
only thing is, I cannot guarantee that we will ever get matching uniforms for anybody else. So the next question is, what would you want to do about that if we did? And we do have 3 new employees now that will be approaching their 90 days.
Well, I guess I liked your suggestion of last month, and that is just buy a bunch of T-shirts and give them out. Not unless someone's got a better suggestion.
Sounds good with me.
Does any of the employees have a better suggestion?
What Chris is saying sounds good to me.
I have one question. How come you don't meet in the county courthouse? Because there's a huge economy at the top. No one meets on the third Monday night of the month. And there's plenty of room, as you can see, your group is growing.
Yeah.
Your county agents are supposed to have free title taxes to that courtroom.
Okay, what,
So basically, we're just gonna pay them this $1,500, we keep whatever we have, and then we're just gonna go buy T-shirts for everybody.
Yes.
How many?
And that's the thing.
T-shirts
Do
or-
you want to leave the employees that we have now in the gray and orange stripes, or do you want to just start replacing the new employees with yellow T-shirts? Right now, they do have jeans and shirts. So would we want to do some sort of allowance for blue jeans or anything like that?
Well, I think what we ought to do is just, buy the T-shirts and stay with it until we get the new budget in place. That's me. Anybody else got another
Are you
opinion?
talking about T-shirts just for as they come along, or for everybody that's already here?
Well,
or-
I think we ought to have T-shirts as they come along, but I guess
Right.
if somebody else wanted to, maybe we could offer T-shirts and sell them to them until the other stuff wears out. I don't know. No, I'd
I
just give them
know.
to them.
Yeah.
I guess I'd give them the option. They can do whatever they'd like. They can wear the new uniform or wear the T-shirts. Because I have heard my own self that they're hotter in the summer.
Summertime?
Yeah, there's no use in wasting those uniforms or
Right,
anything.
that's what I'm thinking.
They need to go on and get some use out of them. And we do have 4 seasons, and some of these people work outside during the winter, and some outside in the summer. And, so there's got to be some variance in what kind of uniforms that they have to wear if you're trying to put them in a standardized uniform of some kind.
That was the whole idea.
You won't just get them shirts that's got some kind of fluorescent orange or fluorescent green or something like that.
Can you get a T-shirt like that?
I priced they call it safety green, but it's fluorescent yellow. It's almost like her shirt, but it's the yellow, the safety. And I can get those printed here in town for $6 a piece with a 1-color logo on it that says Hot Spring County Solid Waste. $6 a piece, I'm sure, plus tax. If we buy a large
Well, we'll need
quantity.
2 different motions on it anyway. We'll need one to either pay this off and then deal with the other.
Right. Correct.
I move we pay this off.
I'll second that, buddy.
we move second, we pay off UniFirst and close out this contract. Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Burnett,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Dodd,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Paredes,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Yerby.
Yes.
Okay, on the T-shirts. Somebody wanna move on that?
Well, I'll make a motion that we authorize the assistant administrator to buy the number of T-shirts that, in her opinion, are necessary to staff us and to buy an economic quantity and to have them in stock.
Are these gonna be all short sleeve T-shirts, or are you gonna, winter be coming up for long?
I guess in the past we only had short sleeve, right?
In the past, everybody furnished their own. When we went to this company, they all had the short sleeve uniform shirts, and then we also furnished jackets, uniform jackets for them. From the feedback I've gotten from the employees, I think they would all be happy to furnish their own jackets. We do still have the mesh vests that are the safety vest with the reflective stripes on those. And I think before what they normally did was they would wear their own coveralls or whatever and put the safety vest over it.
Tell me this, how much would it cost, what kind of fee would we put on if we just paid them a clothing allowance and let them buy their own stuff?
I've put some numbers several directions. I thought about maybe a $50 blue jean allowance. A lot of people have told me they buy the Wrangler Rustler jeans, the guys did. They're $10 a piece. They could buy 5 pairs of jeans in a year for $50 a piece. And then the shirts, if we furnish them 5 t-shirts, that's going to cost us 6 times 5, $30 a piece. So $80 a year we can,
Do an
uniform
employee,
everybody
yeah.
versus the 16,000.
Would the t-shirts last a year? I mean, I have no idea. Would they
I
last
know
a year?
some of y'all that have worked here,
Once they get stained up, you throw it away.
yeah.
So about how long do you think it would last? Something like that would last, at old t-shirts?
The drivers are gonna go through a lot more than the operators are. Because of the loading
Yeah,
cans
at least
and
6 months.
landfill and everything.
At $10 a piece
Still
if we
seems
bought them.
better
at
than
$6 a
the-
piece if we bought them 10 a year. That's $60.
It's still better than
per
$1,000 a
t-shirts.
month, what we
Yes.
were doing, right?
And we have 25 employees.
One of the male employees says about six months is what they last.
That's only $60 a year. Yeah, I agree with I second his motion.
I think we ought to do one clarification, and that is that we would provide all employees a $50 pant allowance a year, and then we will provide up to 10 t-shirts a year.
While we're talking about it, how do you want me to do that $50 allowance? Would it be a check right now, everybody gets $50 on their paycheck to go out and buy their jeans? Or
I think we'd leave it to your judgment, but what I'd say is, since we got the current uniforms and their jeans, I'd say maybe the 1st of January, or maybe
Okay.
1st of October. What does anyone else think? Just use your judgment.
Okay.
But
I
I
like the
mean,
anniversary.
there's
date.
still 2 to 3 employees that haven't gotten their jeans from
Right.
the original order.
right, well, take care of those.
Okay.
Use your judgment there,
Okay.
and
The way we do the boot allowance is we keep a running total of who
Right.
buys and when, and they have to bring their receipt into us. But, it would almost be easier to pay everybody across the board and y'all go out and get your jeans. And
I would suggest that, just have a date, 1st of October, 1st of January, whatever works best for you. Anyone else have any other
You
suggestions?
got a second for the motion? Did you second it?
I did.
Okay, alrighty.
Motion second that we pay the employees a yearly allowance of $50 for jeans and up to
10 t-shirts.
10 t-shirts.
That's still just $60. If you can get them for 6, so
Yeah.
that's not.
I'm
Oh,
sure
we
there will be.
haven't been doing this
I'm
long.
sure there will be tax on that. So
Well, yeah, yeah.
but that was the price that a non-union
How many
did.
new employees was that?
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Burnett,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Dodd,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Paredes,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Irby.
Yes.
Okay, fuel tank is in. I have added a little record keeping to our guys, and each truck is going to have an individual record of the total gallons they put in per month and their total mileage per month. So I'm going to try to get a running total of what each individual truck, brand of truck, Kenworth, Freightliner or such, is getting on fuel mileage. So after the end of this month, I'll have a total on that to start figuring up on the trucks. Primeline Electrical is in. Auger's up and running, and I hear it's doing good. E-cycling at the stations, I included something in your, I believe I laid it on top, that is the universal waste handlers. I know Mr. Goddard talked about collecting electronics at every station. And the Bismarck station does have a permit, an EPA permit, but what I found is that if each area is not going to have more than 5,000 kilograms, which I looked up is a little over 11,000 pounds, then they are not required to have a permit. So
11,000
11,000
pounds
pounds.
per year, or
No, stored at the
one
location
time?
at one time.
Okay.
So our recycling truck goes around every week and picks up recycling from Bismarck right now, the electronics from Bismarck. And last month, we did a total of 3.3 tons of electronics. So if they're going around every week to every station picking up, then there should never be another station that would hold 11,000 pounds of TVs and computers.
So we're gonna start putting it at every station?
That's what I wanted to talk to y'all about. I know Mr. Dodd and I have discussed putting maybe a small building. Some of the locations have room where they can store them in the Gaylord containers. I know Donaldson was telling me that he's got a spot that he could put two Gaylords out there and put the TVs and stuff in it that would be under a cover.
You're talking about to get Gaylord, set the boxes out there
Yeah,
now.
all those that were stacked against the wall that y'all saw, we have plenty.
Right.
Have plenty to go around, so we wouldn't have to buy any of those.
So we could just put those Gaylords in their location, we could store.
If all of the areas have enough
Right.
space to put it where it's covered. So,
Well, I guess, we've talked about this, and I guess now since this works, I guess really and truly I'd almost, if everyone else is in favor of it, if the Gaylords won't work and we have to actually store some outside, I'd say buy a couple of those cargo trailers or whatever the number comes out and get this going, because truly, there's just so much out there that electronic waste is the big area that we need to pull out if we can.
We need it going soon, yes.
Right. So now, could you get these Gaylords operational? When would you actually see where they would work?
I personally haven't been to all of the stations to
Right,
know
yeah.
exactly where a spot is, but they could take them to the stations tomorrow.
Okay.
There's a huge stack at the East Center
Oh, really? Okay.
that could be moved.
29 of them, I think I counted, or something like that, or more.
Last week, they picked up Bismarck, and they had, I believe the school, the Bismarck school had brought in a bunch of computers at the end of the year, and they picked up 10 Gaylords. Normally, they pick up 2 to 3 every couple of weeks from Bismarck. So if each station has those, as long as they've got 2 or 3. I would
Most
say.
of them have got room for at least one, if not two, though.
Do we need to do a motion on it because it is electronic waste, do you think?
Why don't-
I would think it.
Why don't we let somebody go around and just look, see what it's gonna take to do all this before we start?
They've all got to be able, you've got to place them all under cover.
Under cover,
Under some
yeah.
kind of roof.
And our employees will have to learn, there is some paperwork that you have to fill out on if it's individuals bringing it in or if it's businesses bringing it in, there's separate paperwork that they'll have to fill out.
I'm not
So
against
that
going
will
ahead
take
with it, it just seemed like we need to put a little study into
Yeah,
it
yeah.
before
Well, I've
We do
we
need
jump
to-
in it.
since our last meeting, I've been to Caney and Friendship and Bismarck and Point Cedar and Gifford and
Jones.
over at Jones Mill. And I think out of those compactor stations, I don't know, do batteries have to be up underneath the shed too, or can they be sitting out on the pallet? They gotta be under too?
Yeah, probably should be.
The logistics of setting some of them is gonna be what the problem is gonna be, and the open space to put them is up there, but because of where the other bins are located and where the battery pile
Some of
is
them
and where
are
the,
crowded.
it's,
Under there.
but I think that the individual operators, whoever the regular individual operator is that works that station, if we were to go to them and say, this is what we've got in mind, do you have a place where you can put this, where you can start picking up some electronic waste also and help out the whole county by what little bit comes in around Friendship or what little bit comes in up at Point Cedar. And that person that works that station is the one that needs to be the one that makes the decision on where it's gonna go and whether or not I got room for it or not.
Well, I guess, let me ask you this, Chris. Can you go out and, and I don't know if you really need a motion, but we have these Gaylord containers. If you can go out and start putting it in place. The other thing that I'm just slightly concerned with How much training do you have to give them on the two forms? Is that something you just do in an hour or a half hour?
We're having a safety meeting tomorrow night, and we're
Okay.
going to go over that then.
Well, I guess I would sort of make a motion that you go ahead and put these Gaylord containers out, and if they don't work and you need something different, come back in the next meeting. Do as many as you can do, and
There's a couple of places too. Gifford has got that building up front. I haven't looked in it to see if they could possibly put stuff in that building, then they wouldn't have to have
Right.
a separate bin. But
Well, Gifford's close enough out here that, do we need one out there?
well, a lot of people, because
Well, we
out
need
here is
one.
only open on Friday and
we
Saturday.
need
okay.
Sunday
So,
through Thursday.
Yeah, and that would give
We-
the whole rest of the week.
We need a sign on the front of those things.
Oh yeah, we definitely need to do the sign,
Definitely
and,
need signs.
and
They
it'd be
need
good
to be
if
marked.
Chris could get with Rhonda over here and she can run something in the paper. Would you support us that way, Rhonda?
I would like to.
That is supporting us that now we're taking electronic waste at all the stations.
Okay, but again, we might wanna wait until we see how things are gonna work before you run it in the paper.
And make sure that there's
and
nothing
everything,
else
'cause
that
you
we
don't
have
want-
to add
Sure.
on any of the stations to do that. I do know that there is no permit required, so I do need to contact AD&Q again just to make sure if there's anything we need to change on the signage as far as what our recyclables are and anything like that, just to double check.
Well, while we're talking about e-waste, it occurred to me today when we were out at the building out there, and Joel and I were talking about it. It's very inconvenient out there, the way it's set up. You go around there, and I think I've carried one big TV out there, and
Yeah.
that thing up to get. We get moved out there. There's a side door, street level. We need to, somebody.
Yes.
Just set it off right here at this door, and we can dolly it back to where
Well,
it needs to
if we
go.
want to go one step further, if we're collecting it at every station that's already open, then there's really not a necessity to have that building open to collect. We can just have somebody that comes there once a week, a couple of times a month, or whatever,
Well-
and wraps and palletizes and puts it on the truck.
If
don't
we have,
to
if
an
we have,
attendant.
if we have an office out there, I mean, there's gonna be somebody
Yeah,
that
yeah.
won't have to have a special person. Now, here's a bin, dump it in it.
That's good.
Yes, I think it needs to be moved to the front of that too.
The wrapper and all that's in the bag. I don't know why that was the original place to put it, but it's where the loading dock is.
A lot of changes need to be made.
People get confused out there too. Our service guys walk up several times and he has TVs sitting out on the ramp on the side, and people drop stuff off out there just whenever they feel like it. So
It's not their fault.
they set them at the front door and stuff like that. So it is confusing, and with it only being open 2 days a week, it's not really.
But
Well, do we think Chris needs the most, or can she just go ahead with this? Start implementing.
put some, to the Gaylords out front there. with
I mean, I think
signs
it's
on
within
it.
the gambit of what we've always done for recycling. I think the biggest thing is, if somebody doesn't have objections, just have Chris start implementing. And if she runs into, roadblocks, or if ADUQ says no, then she doesn't implement it. Does anyone have any objections to implementing?
don't.
No?
Go for it.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Get her done.
My next thing I was going to discuss was the fleet insurance, and I've already told you a little bit about that. I believe there might have been a bit of confusion, but Solid Waste does pay our fleet insurance through the county, and that's why we were reimbursed from Gallagher Insurance back through the county on the damage to the tub grinder. We do have a bunch of old equipment. If anybody is interested in doing anything else with this, I'll send around some pictures. We have the Pac-Mac. Used to pick up cardboard. We have truck number 1, does not run. Truck number 2, does it start? And truck number 10 is used now to pull around the tub grinder that we are hoping to sell. So I'll just let y'all look at those, and we can discuss some of that at the next meeting if you want to.
Give up one to Brian, see if he can buy it.
Okay, I'm having interest in that with moving the Frontline trailers. Recycling news, everything stayed pretty much the same this month. The new checks coming in for this coming month, metal is going to be way down. District news, the meeting is going to be Wednesday, and as far as ADEQ, we are short on employees, the fully licensed employees, so I do have provisional license coming for the 2 employees that are working stations that don't exactly have their B license yet, but they're both close to getting those. So I've got provisional license coming for them, and I do have a provisional coming for a truck driver that can also fill in. So we will be back in good standings with ADQ as far as all of our licensed employees. And that's all.
We'll talk to Brian about that. Yes, sir.
Did y'all want to discuss with Brian now while we're on trailers? Or?
That's fine with me.
I asked her to have Brian come in so we can discuss this trailer situation for what they're gonna need out there. Is this the best time to do it, or?
Or is it under new business? I don't know. Well, I guess it wouldn't be new business.
It's old business.
It's old business, but if we done passed the deal in here to 4 or 5 trailers, somehow it got stopped. I don't know what stopped it, but
Let's let Brian have a discussion.
We don't need 5.
Is that okay with you? Let Brian discuss this with Brian about how many trailers they're gonna need and exactly what the deal is?
Yeah, yeah.
Brian? What's your idea on how many trailers we're gonna need out there?
Well, I really, as far as the number of trailers, I'm not 100% sure, because I have to go off of what you guys think.
But you're gonna have,
the
well,
operation-
I understand you're gonna have 2 bays there.
Yeah.
Trailer under each one of them. When it
Correct.
fills up, then it goes to the other one. How long is it gonna take to fill up the trailer?
Well, I don't know how much dust we're generating, nor do I know how
we
much.
don't, yeah, that just all depends on how much are cut that comes into us.
Well,
What's the biggest day you've ever had?
I was going to say.
Weekend's probably the biggest day, and it's probably a trailer and a half.
A
roughly.
day?
And 2 days.
Well, 2 days.
Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. So,
I did figure according to our incoming dust, total year to date, it's averaged about 11.73 tons a day. A trailer can hold 20 to 24 tons.
so we're looking at a half a truck a day. And that's not going to change much. It could change a little bit, but it's not going to change a lot. We have the equipment currently in-house right now that we're moving. We're not adding much.
Now, if you go to the 100 employees, it's not gonna
I mean, that's
bring
going to
more
add.
dust?
Yeah, that's going to add. We're going to add another shift, which we talked about. the
Of course,
other day.
one thing I'm concerned with is if we can get away from not paying people to go out there on Saturday and Sunday and move trucks and overtime.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't that say that they're gonna pay the overtime?
Yeah, that's the way it was written before. Now, I don't know about the new one.
We have no
but-
problem paying for that. It hurts us more to shut down because we can't dispose of the dust than it would be to pay somebody to come out.
I may have got an old agreement or something
No,
that
that's true.
got handed to
That's
me
been since
last
day-
week,
that-
but
that's actually been since day one.
It said that y'all would take care of any overtime overrun
Correct.
that we had because of work incurred on the weekend.
And I think at one point we had a minimum. If it took them an hour, we'd pay them for 3. I don't know. At one point, that's what we were doing.
I don't, if they're gonna be paying the overtime, I don't see where that is gonna be a problem on us if some of these guys get to pick up a little extra overtime
That's what I
on the
thought.
weekends and y'all are gonna reimburse us for it. Well, I
I think
don't see any.
at one point we were offered to reimburse more than it was costing you guys.
Well, let's look again and see if we can find that one. I like that too.
So
That's been
at a
since day
minimum,
one.
we almost need 4 trailers to handle the weekend.
Pardon me?
We'd need almost 4 trailers to handle the weekend. We fill one up and
No,
have
you'd
2 sitting
need,
there.
you would need to have 3. You'd have to have 3.
A minimum of 3.
Now that's
And
according to the calculations that we're just.
And we've
talking
got 2 up there now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3 trailers will pretty much hold an average of 66 tons. So.
I guess the question
If they're
is
producing
that the
11,
trailers you have out
15
at
tons a day
the
maximum.
facility, do they have to stay out there, or can you put in some out there?
No, they gotta stay hooked up to the truck. That's what we got.
Okay, so we need at least 3 more trailers, and I guess having been around production, I think we need 4 trailers out there at Brian's myself at a minimum.
One thing, when we got the fuel tank out at the satellite station,
Yeah.
it has freed up a trash trailer, because now if our guy has to make 3 trips to the landfill, he can. And he's
Is
not
it a
having-
walking beam and it works?
And he's
So
not
there's
having
actually
to-
one freed up?
Good truck. just to use to move them around out there.
Yeah, that's a big
Before, he could
savings.
make, when he was having to go all the way to Ligon to fill up with
So
fuel,
David says
he could
it's
make
for
2 trips and did not have
It's our
time to go
truck.
fill up because he couldn't make 3 trips on 1 tank of fuel.
For sale?
So he didn't have
Yeah.
time to go fill up and
Make
make
off.
it back
That
and
was
haul a third load.
She'll show you where it
That was
is.
a good move.
Where
And
is
I
this
give
truck?
Chris credit for it, for getting
Where is
that
this
tank
truck?
put out there.
Sitting
And,
right out front.
because we were talking to the guy out there today, and he told us that what it gives us, that guy can make an extra trip.
Keep waiting for you to-
Mansfield.
He said it takes
Move
12
around.
minutes to fill the truck up now, where it was
Might be a
taking
good
45
backup,
minutes
too.
to an hour to drive to Ligon, fuel up and drive back.
Big difference.
So, for right now, the sheet that I had, and I'm sorry I run out, I was, running way behind today. But, it showed how many loads y'all were putting out a day now. It's 20 loads a day of 25 ton or something like that. And then it showed if you increase to a double production, it would be, it was on the cost payout. That's what it was on how long it takes to pay for the trailer. But for right now, you can still pretty much stay with the song and dance that you're doing right now. You're not gonna be increasing your waste that much.
Yeah,
Immediately.
we're running right now, we're running 6 out of 8 shifts.
Okay.
Okay, so if we ran 2 more shifts, what is that? 6 out of 8 is what?
Third.
Third
Third
more,
more.
right? Yeah. That's what we could do right now.
Right.
Now,
And then to put in this new line that you're talking about, adding an additional line, and by the way, that's an outstanding operation out there the other day. I went out there and seen it, and that's just almost amazing.
Well, thank
how
you.
that goes about and all that
Oh,
happens.
okay, so you saw the whole thing?
I think I saw just about all of it, didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
So if we do another one.
You know, if you put in a whole nother line,
Right.
you're talking about, what, a year from now, maybe having it ready to
Yeah.
go into production?
If you were going.
If you put in another line, are you gonna have another 2 docks for dust, or just have the same 2 docks?
No, we'd have the same 2 docks.
2 docks, so essentially the 2 docks is gonna remain the same.
Yeah, so with the dust collection system, we can actually, it's
And right now
modular.
they're paying us.
Modular, so we can actually add
Right now they
modules
pay
as
us
we
a fee.
grow. So
Right.
we can go from 50, I think it's 53,000 CFM right now.
Okay.
And add another module and it'll go up to, whatever it is, 60, 70,000 CFM. It'll all be still discarded out through the same system.
Okay.
So,
And
the
so
answer is,
before-
so right now we're in the process of starting another shift. So we're gonna go to
Okay.
7 out of 8 shifts we're gonna be running here in about, hopefully this week, but probably a couple of weeks.
And so if you put in a completely additional line where you'd be doing like 16 shifts instead of what you're doing 8, you're fixing to go to 8 right now.
Yeah, that's, so we
and
go to
you're-
12. 12
You'd
shifts.
go to 12, okay. And so with the most you'd be doing would probably be about double what you're doing right now.
Not even double.
And that will be a year or so down the road.
Yeah, well, hopefully less than that, but
Okay.
yeah. It just
I like the optimism.
depends on the market. But right now, we're sold out. I
Okay.
mean, we could sell out also 8 shifts, can't find operators. But we're so far so good there. So our volume's not gonna increase a lot, it'll increase a little bit. It's gonna increase a little bit in the next week or 2, by the way. I don't know if anybody's told you that or not. So you're looking at, we're gonna start another shift as soon as we get the guy trained. So, this week, next week. It'll be weekend nights.
You can't say that.
It'll be weekend nights. So we don't run Saturday and Sunday night, we'll run Saturday and Sunday night. One of the lines, not all.
So we just need to decide how many
Oh,
trailers
dock
are gonna need
tanks
out there.
at Lakeville and other places.
Bottom line,
I make a motion.
That's a charge.
For right now, we buy 3 trailers.
And haul to the-
we've got 2 out there.
We don't
We don't have any trailers out there. I mean, we might have one.
But they can't be moved from that lot to the new location.
No, we might have one. Chris is saying we have one that can be freed up maybe now from what we currently use to haul stuff to the landfill. But his 2 trailers out there, 3 or whatever they are, they're dedicated to that operation, and I don't see that decreasing a lot in the short haul.
Dedicated to what operation?
The wood grinding and all the other people that would gather stuff up from flake board and everybody else, and
They stay on the road, they continue to haul the chips, they come in and we load them up and they go right back out, so they never stop.
With chips and not with his
Some-
stuff?
Well,
portion
we
is
haul
the
dust
dust,
too, but we
too.
still load it up. with
When he
load.
moves out there, will you still need them?
Well, we'll keep them swapped out with what we got. They'll swap out a trailer for the empty trailer they got, and then haul it off.
Then why isn't it swapped out to the new place?
Because the trailers we got now, they stay hooked up to the trailer. They never come off the truck.
So you've got
If we
two-
dropped them off over there, we wouldn't have no trailers at the industrial park.
Well,
How
portion
many
of it,
trucks
though, is
do you
once-
need?
Once you pull one of their full trailers, you can leave that empty trailer.
Yes, I can
So-
leave the empty
So you
trailer.
can
Yeah.
leave that empty trailer there.
Yeah.
I guess I agree with David that if Chris is saying she can free up a truck from the people that are hauling the trash now from the Fred Smith's place out to wherever it goes, and we buy 3 more, that means we got 2 in the chute out there at Brian's, and we got 2 that can come back in there. And then plus, the other thing is that we get one that gets broke. Then at least we have a reasonable way to go around, a spare. So I think 3 trailers we can handle it. If it doesn't, the problem is we can do this trap line of going back through Quorum Court, but that's not easy.
Well,
I second his motion.
I'm not,
What was the
yeah.
motion?
Yeah,
What was-
the motion
what's
was
the
to buy
motion?
three new trailers.
to buy 3 new trailers for use at Prime Line's facility.
Okay, so let me just make
And
sure.
then we get to keep the trailers that we've already got operating and that we're using every day or every other day at Jones Mill. And we'll still have 2 trailers that are not necessarily being utilized every day, except for one of them comes out and get one when he gets full. And then we've got that extra trailer sitting there for when he gets halfway to Pine Bluff and that axle blows out of that trailer or something. We've still got that extra trailer
You
sitting
guys
on
don't
hand.
take care of your own dust. How come y'all don't do that?
I mean, it's an option.
All right.
For
Well,
us,
I'm
it's
just
always
curious.
been, it's always been a win-win situation.
I know, but why?
Why?
I mean, because
We've had people approach us to buy the dust, and because it's been
like
so
a private entity would come and try to buy it
Yeah,
and
I mean,
do something with it, or.
because it's for us, it's something we don't have to manage, and for me,
Mhm.
because we're trying to add employees, add shifts, grow the
But
business.
but if it makes
one more
money,
thing.
how come y'all don't do it to make money
Because it's one more thing I have to manage. I could start a trucking company today.
and go
And
ahead
I'd
and
make
you
a
and
ton
you
of money.
and as a company,
My
y'all don't
problem-
want to do that,
My problem is I got to find the drivers.
right?
I gotta do insurance. I
Yeah,
gotta
I'm just saying,
become
I just
I
wanna
gotta
make
become
sure.
a professional in the DOT. I know nothing about that.
Yeah.
I could start that business today and make millions.
So there's
If I had
a
the
private
help.
company out there could do what we do here.
The one differential
So,
is we
yeah.
save 30% because we don't have to pay taxes. And that's one
And
reason
that's
it'd be
why-
harder. That's one reason it's harder for a private company to compete.
But y'all had offers,
We've got offers to buy the stuff.
but to buy the stuff.
Right. But we don't want to manage it. If it works for you guys are making money doing it. If you guys can do something.
Yeah, but we're not sure that we're making money,
Yeah,
especially
we're-
if we have to buy.
Yeah, we're
saving money.
We're saving
Making
money.
We're saving money.
Here's the key. and you
Oh,
know-
that's debatable. I don't know that we're making money.
On the
Let me say
wood,
this.
it looks like to me that we are actually making money and saving money.
We are.
Now, on some of the other trash that we haul off, we're making money only because of the money that we're saving by not having to haul it to the dump.
There you go.
You got, that's it.
And that's the thing is right now
Is
the
there
short
a
haul.
way, excuse me, just one thing, is there a way that we could get an amount of just what do the stations cost us? If we had these stations and we didn't do any of this other extra stuff, how many employees is that? How many trucks is that? How much is that? Is there a way that we could get that
We could,
amount?
we could.
You're talking
we-
about doing away with the wood grinding and.
I'm just saying that it started out to be these where people could go and take their trash.
Okay, but you're
That's
saying
what,
do away
I'm
with.
just saying, what does that cost? What
The-
could we
let me say
separate
this.
it?
The other thing, you got to think about this. It's a huge advantage for us in a marketplace to have you guys do it.
Well, I'm
So
sure.
now there's people in El Dorado that our competition, they can ship a truck next week. We're 6 weeks out. We're 6 weeks out because we're situated in Hot Spring County. And this has been a beneficial relationship for us. It's allowed us to grow. So what
Yeah,
what
I
you're-
understand your point of view,
Yeah.
and I do understand that.
But you gotta think about it, we went from 15 employees, my dad started the business before, we have
Yeah.
63 right now.
Yeah.
Because we stayed in Hot Spring County. Okay. So I don't know what the money that's generated from our taxes
Yeah.
brings in, you gotta take that into consideration.
Yeah,
as
but the
well.
taxes come on to the people that buy your product. So a business in itself doesn't really pay taxes because if I have a lemonade
I'm on
stand
payroll
and
taxes, we pay a lot.
yeah, well, I'm just saying, but then you add that to your cost. So yeah,
You know-
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying I don't. If we just keep going in the hole, if we just keep going and going backwards, because apparently last month you said we were going to have to make some cuts somewhere because we were going
Well,
in the hole.
I tell you, this what's covering us now, and why we have $1.2 million in the bank is what we sold for recycling.
Recycling.
Yeah, and you know, and we can do a lot of costing, and certainly in the
Well-
past, even before we hired an administrator, I've never particularly liked the costing because I don't think it's. But on the other hand, one thing you got to keep in mind is we from solid waste transfer station, we've had 13.8 tons that went out to be ground, and it's almost like if we take the approach that Mitchell and you want to take, we're going to take that to the landfill if we do wood grinding.
Okay.
And part of this is an economy of scale.
Again, what I want is what I'm hearing what people have been saying, you know.
Well, the other thing I would tell you is this.
And this is where I'm
Yeah.
coming from.
Well,
and I
I'll
have that, but I also have some things where we look at where actually the wood grinding cost us $70,000 last year.
That's it.
Whenever you look at the truck cost and things like that.
But did you figure the 30% in there?
Again, like I said, well, here's another page. I didn't have it stapled. I didn't know if anybody would want copies
Make some
or.
copies of
Do you know what
these.
we're
Have them
doing?
put them in the next
No,
pack.
Do I know what you're doing?
Yeah.
As a company?
No. Do you know what we're about to do? What we're putting
Yes,
in?
yes, and I understand,
it?
and I am not saying take that away.
No. Do you know what
So-
we're doing to make this more efficient? Is my question to you.
Do I know what you're doing to make it more? No, I don't know what you're doing to make it more efficient.
So, okay.
Tell me.
Listen,
That's what I need to know.
we're putting in close to, well, it's over $500,000 into a new dust system, so that all we have to do is reload directly into your trailers. Currently, what we're doing is
Yeah, I know we have that
See,
big thing. Yeah.
Let me finish.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Okay.
No, I'm
That might be
sorry.
one of the
I'm
reasons why
sorry.
you
I'm
miss
sorry.
some
Go
of this
ahead.
stuff. We currently, the dust goes onto the ground,
Mm-hmm.
they move it with a front end loader, load it into a trailer, and then they take it. Okay, then they have to smooth it off, do all this stuff. We're taking that whole process out. So it goes directly into the trailer. They do nothing besides hook up to the truck or to the trailer, take it to wherever they're going, and bring it back empty. Nope, that's it. That's all they do. We call them, they're done. It's just like hauling off trash. Instead,
So-
now they're putting a bunch of labor into moving all this material.
So if we could just do y'all, then that would be cheaper for us then too, right?
I'm not going to get into
Yeah, I
that.
know,
All
but
I'm- all
that's
I'm
bet-
trying- all
it
I'm
would
trying
be
to tell you
better
is
for us
that-
just to
that
do y'all then.
We're investing a lot of money to help make
Make
this
it a better
process more efficient
okay.
for you.
That's good. I gotcha.
Less liability for you guys having to load this stuff. Front end loader, I guess you still use it to load the chips,
Yes.
but not near the movement that you're doing now. Not even close.
So right
Especially
now,
if we're
right.
producing that much of it.
Let me
How much
ask
is everybody
you.
else producing?
That's
Yes.
I don't know. That's my question.
I-
Yeah, I
you
know.
gotta
That,
go
I mean,
research
I
all this
see
stuff.
all this. I just don't understand. To me, it just seems like if it's something that's making money, I don't know why y'all aren't doing it yourself. That's my
There's a
always
lot
been
of
my
things in this
question.
world that will make money.
Yeah,
but it's just
but-
paid to do it.
Yeah.
Trucking's one.
Ah.
This agreement that we worked out, did you request this agreement?
No, you guys did.
We did. I did, Mitchell.
Yeah.
You did.
I drove for this agreement because to be truthful with you, I like Brian, but if we were going to invest $350 or $200,000 or $150, probably what now if we buy 3 trailers, I wanted some assurance for saving taxpayers money that Brian wouldn't decide tomorrow, which he could, that he could go get somebody else.
Somebody on the street. To do
And
it.
then but however, I think Brian, with us, I've always believed it's a cooperative deal. And of course, and if you remember what our counsel said, he's never been really hot to trot about the agreement. But however, I thought to protect the taxpayers, my own self, we needed at least some agreement that we had worked together for 2 years, we'd get our money recouped, and then if somehow we parted ways and we weren't really working well, then Brian would be free to part two. But if it was doing good, we could do options and we'd get more. And you know, and for me, you know, what I really do is I look at, we got 13 tons that's coming out from the transfer station. We got to chip it out here, and when you put that all together, we're either going to work a wood grinding operation or we're going to take it to the landfill. And that's the point, that now we've got a critical mass, and I am more than happy. And I've always not liked this. And I'll tell you, I've been on this board for 2.5 years, and the budgeting process totally excluded me. And it won't be that way if I have anything to do with it in the future. We're going to go through this line by line and slug this stuff out. And you're going to get a vote like everybody else. And part of it is, yes, we have to watch it. Are we broke today? No, we're not. But if we keep it up, we all will.
See, and that's what I'm wondering. And whenever we say, you know, if we've got to make cuts.
Well, I can guarantee you this. When we sit down and we do a good costing, and you know, in the past, our costing was done by using the outside engineers. And personally, you know, having been a long time CPA since '77, I sort of found that offensive that we didn't have the internal organic capability. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do understand what you're saying. And again, with you being a CPA, that's why I keep wondering why. I mean,
you know, the thing is, when you're sitting around in a meeting, they, for example, like on the library board, we start working this two months in advance. Here, it's been the last 2 years. It's almost a fait accompli, you know, between Mark. I don't have anything against Mark, and between Angela sitting over there, they'd bring a budget in and say here, and it would be in November. And so I'm just saying that it's not going to be that way in the future. but on the other hand, it takes work. And are you willing, for example, to work with us? You know, like one idea that I have, like for example, for setting up some pay raises, it's a lot like, I know Mitchell's very familiar with it. That is, we would, maybe for the first 2 or 3 years, we would have a step system. We would recognize new employees. And then after that, you know, we probably can't continue to give everybody 3% like we have for the last 5 to 8 years. Not until, but you know, that's the thing that I really support Brian is, I believe he's going to turn the numbers around, and we're going to show a positive growth in sales tax.
So you think that we should keep him and let go of some of the other stuff? Keep the prom line thing going and let go of some of the other things?
Well, I'm not saying that. I guess what I'm saying is this. I believe wood grinding, we need to take a hard look at it, but at the end of the day, because it supports our goal and we don't have to dump 13 tons and haul it over there on a monthly basis.
Mostly it's more of a okay, that's all right. Gotcha.
Let's get back to the second.
Motion.
Okay, you got a motion,
Yeah.
it's been second.
Motion and second.
What was the motion? Can you
Motion
restate?
was to buy 3 trailers for use at Prime Line's
New facility.
new facility.
Okay, now,
Where's that money going to come from?
and the agreement called for 5. Is your motion, you gonna amend the
Well,
agreement
if it-
to
Now,
to
Brian,
pass the 3?
would you
Yeah,
mind
I
amending the
would
agreement
amend the
to
agreement to, and I would, if I need, I mean, if we take care of this, or if I need to do that first, I'll withdraw my motion.
I would
and
say
we'll
we-
do that.
No,
first.
I think you can amend the agreement, but Brian is amenable to 3, so whatever we need to do.
I have one.
But aren't we gonna have
I
to
still have one.
take those and ordinance back that we've done passed? in order
They hadn't
to be
passed it.
legal?
It hasn't
hadn't
passed. No.
The ordinance hadn't passed, but we passed ours in the meeting here one night.
So
Oh,
we'd
yeah.
have to redo it, wouldn't we?
But we're just amending
We're
it
gonna
now.
have to
Amendment.
Yeah, we're gonna have.
Amend it instead of 5 trailers to 3 trailers.
Amend section 2 from 5 to 3.
Would you have to
Section 2.
just read, what's his name? Attorney's
You
assistant?
didn't,
David.
And
Would
I'll
you have to
second.
like redo all of this?
no.
So are you going to amend this agreement first, buddy? Are you amending this agreement here, David?
You wouldn't?
Just a couple of.
Can I do it under what we've still got a motion on?
Yeah,
it?
you can. You can amend it. You can amend your motion.
Okay, and yes, I would amend my motion to change,
To amend,
to amend the memorandum of agreement and change section 2 to SWA shall procure 3 trailers of sufficient size. And now it'll still carry under my original motion and his original second.
well,
Is that
you,
correct?
that's the only motion you made,
Okay, all right,
and I second that.
okay.
All right.
We're right?
Motion,
The other one died on the floor. All right, gotcha.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
That's all right. No, that's all right.
motion and second that we amend this agreement, memorandum agreement with Prime Line to, in section, amend section item 2 there to state 3 trailers instead of 5. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion?
These are not,
These don't,
They
this agreement
state-
doesn't stipulate
stated for-
what type of trailer, does it?
Nope.
Or doesn't stipulate
It
how it will
says
be
Just sufficient
financed?
size for collection of it.
Okay.
Trailers of sufficient size for the collection of.
these are for our use and not,
It
you know,
does say for
not,
the exclusive use
Yes.
of Prime
Yes.
Line.
it's not for exclusive use of Prime Line, no.
You want to amend the word exclusive?
Yes. Well,
You have any problem with that, Brian?
It's fine with me.
Okay.
As long as.
As
you-
long
You,
as
you make an
trailers-
amendment to expand
Yes.
the word exclusive, delete it?
Yes.
Okay, all right, good.
'cause then that way they're ours, we can do what we want to with it.
Okay. All right.
Do we need to say what funds this comes out of to buy those trailers, or do you just say you're gonna buy them first and then decide where you're gonna get the money?
I
or-
think we first get the agreement in place, then we
And
go
then
back
you
and
look
ask
at
for the
the
second
other-
part,
okay.
yes, yes.
I
All
thought
right.
all that was already done.
Mm-mm.
No.
I thought the Supreme Court just a couple of days ago voted on it.
First of all, it has to be ratified by City of Friendship, City of Donaldson, and Hot Springs
Yeah.
County.
Well, this agreement will have,
Well, no, but I mean the whole,
This agreement will not have to be ratified.
So when will we know?
That, you know, we'll have to go back over and go to the one thing, so let's see here. If I was, if everything goes here, if you stay a little later, I would say we gotta go back to the committee meeting and get a due pass. You ought to know, let's see here. You should know when's the meeting gonna be in July? You guys know when the meeting's in July?
Well, let's go ahead and vote on this motion, and I have a
Like
motion.
July 8th.
I have a motion I want to make regarding these trailers.
Go right ahead, okay, all right.
All right. We have a motion to amend this agreement to 3 trailers and delete the sentence that says it shall be for exclusive use of Prime Line. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Burnett,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Dodd,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Paredes,
yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Yerby.
Yes.
All right, and now in regard to the financing, I move that we take the money out of the $1.3 million that we've got in the bank that's not doing anybody any good except the bank, because they're not even paying interest on it. We take that, buy the trailers with it. We don't have to get appropriation from the quorum court. And I don't think my council would have any problem at all with that. And we've got quorum court members sitting over there. We might get some feedback from them whether they'd be amenable to us doing that. Whether they'd have any objection.
You make that a motion?
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded that we
We
purchase
got
it.
the money in the bank.
Yes,
They don't have to,
yes.
they don't have to do nothing about it.
That's right. Motion made and seconded that we purchase these trailers out of.
Okay, we're gonna have a discussion on that?
Okay, discussion. Go ahead.
This is recycling funds, so how do you propose to use $500,000 in recycling that's over there sitting in an account, drawing that really piddly interest that the state pays?
This is money that was in there for a landfill.
Well, now, read the whole clause.
Yeah, and recycling.
And it's for a steam plant too.
But it's taxpayer money. And this recycling money, I didn't want to get off into an argument with you about the fact this money hasn't been used to offset the cost of grinding wood. But that is. a
But now,
fact that needs to
I
be
guess this
considered.
is the basic thing. This money, is it recycling or not?
The 5% set aside?
No, the buying these 3 trailers. Is it recycling or is it wood grinding?
It's recycling.
Okay, agreed. And does it meet the qualifications of the clause as written?
Which clause?
The clause in the sales tax.
Which clause are you talking about?
The clause in the
You're
sales
talking
tax.
about the 5%
The reasonable
sales.
ordinance on the sales tax. The 1 cent sales tax, what it was for.
Yeah, I'm just saying I have it. If
The
we want to
5%, the
look at it.
5% retainage, what it's for. Cheryl can read us exactly what the language is for the
Sharon.
5%. Sharon,
Yeah,
sorry about that.
That's what I'm
sorry.
saying. I'm just wondering where exactly it is. If you knew where it was.
I don't remember. You remember? You was on the quorum court.
I don't remember exactly.
Well, could I ask a question of one of the quorum court members, or all of them that are here? Would you have a problem, hey, would you have a problem okaying $150,000 for our trailers?
I don't
Because
know.
we don't want to get bogged down in this.
I don't know if we can ask that question in
Of
this
just
setting,
one
'cause it's not a
person,
public
yeah.
meeting
I
between the
suggest
two
we
of
come
us.
to the budget and finance committee next Tuesday night and talk to them about it. Period.
I'll take my
They're
motion.
the ones that make the motion.
Stay with
and
us,
so
Sarah.
forth about it.
Okay, we had a motion and a second and a discussion.
Okay, does,
The motion was that we purchase the trailers from the $1.3 million that we have accrued from recycling.
are we doing anything wrong by buying it out of that account instead of going through the quorum court and getting it appropriated out of a different account?
It's a matter of policy. I don't know that it's right or wrong. Is it permissible to do either way? Probably. Are you gonna run afoul of going through the recycling designated funds? I don't know. That's a political component. I don't know what the temperature of the quorum court is. I don't know what their position on that would be. Could you purchase them out of the money you have on hand? Yes, I think you have latitude to do that. I think you could do either. And that's a policy matter for this board to decide.
Okay, since we took out the exclusive use by Primeline, then wouldn't these be just like any trailers that we were gonna be hauling off recyclable wood products in?
Or any material,
Or
really.
going to the landfill, would they'd be, if we used them, if the money comes out of that 5% fund and we use those trailers for anything else besides recycling, then we'd be in trouble. We'd be getting crossways with the law. But if we buy them out of that 1.3 million we got out there, then they're our trailers. I mean, we don't have to ask the quorum court for the money. To me, it's a no-brainer. I don't know why we.
I guess the thing is
butting
that
heads with the.
I don't think we have to butt heads with the quorum court. I think the quorum court was, enough of them was in favor of it because we are developing jobs. And the thing is that we don't have another way to use that for recycling. This makes 100% good sense and business judgment. And that as board members of the Solid Waste Authority, we're supposed to exercise that.
All the funds are county taxpayers' dollars anyway. None of them belong to this board.
That's right.
I call for question. I'm ready to vote.
Any further discussion? All right, everybody clear on the motion? The motion was to purchase the trailers using the funds from the 1.3 million that we collected from recycling. Call the roll, please.
Burnett,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Dodd,
No.
Jackson,
Yes.
Paredes,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Yerby.
No.
Okay, Mitchell, I got a question.
Okay.
Who stopped the quorum court voting at the agenda meeting?
Who stopped it?
Yes.
What, had to be one of the JPs or more?
Who talked to a JP?
I talked to a
I
JP.
talked to one too.
You talked to a JP.
I talked to several people actually.
And what did you say to the JP?
If you want to know what I asked them about, is they asked me what was why were there 5 and all of this and
Who asked
just
you?
different. I don't want to tell you who I talked to. That wouldn't.
Now,
not
you know,
be
it's
nice,
in
so-
some respects, you know, what that comes around to it is you know, and because this was backdoored this way, and I'll say it right
So
out
the
front.
quorum court decided to do whatever they wanted to. But if there are questions that have come up, then they get to make a decision based on, you know, okay, so this is coming along, this is coming along. Then there's a question. Well, they ask a question, and
Well,
they
I guess
decide.
this is what I'm saying.
And it didn't get taken. It just got taken off for 1 month. They're not. Are y'all ready to go right now with them? Do we need the three trailers?
5 months.
5 months.
And it
So
takes
was
6
one,
months to get
yeah.
the trailer.
So
It'll take about 6 months to get the trailer.
I guess what I'm bringing up about is this: if you meet with the quorum court member and it's not an open meeting, have you violated the open law for Arkansas?
if somebody asks me a question about something, they
Well, that
said,
depends
"Where
on
was?"
what.
They asked
what
me a
text it's
question.
in. If she's a citizen asking a question of a quorum court member.
Well, at this point in time, she's on this board, and they're on that board. And I guess you know what it was is I learned by trying to do an audit for Little Rock School Board how it's done properly. And I will admit, I've not always done it properly. However, I guess when Mitchell talked to Kelly, and Kelly pulled it off the agenda, and Kelly used the exact words, because of the Solid Waste Authority wanted it tabled. And then we have this motion that's in our minutes we all just approved, which is just the opposite of that. I asked you, Mitchell, whose authority did you pull it from?
I didn't tell it was a SWA authority.
Well, that's what Kelly told me, and I wrote my notes down.
Maybe we ought to get him on the witness stand. and-
Maybe we ought to.
Whatever.
Did either of you tell him that, hey, that was your personal opinion, and it was going opposite of what the Solid Waste Authority had passed a motion for?
No, I didn't
They
tell it was
knew.
opposite what
I didn't.
solid waste
Yeah.
voted for.
That was our policy.
I get this is out, but are you the mayor of Friendship or Donaldson one?
Donaldson.
How can you be on this board to begin with?
Why can't I be on this board?
Because you're a member of two boards, you cannot do that legally.
No, I'm not a member of the board.
You remember?
And I checked with this with the Arkansas Municipal League before I ever accepted the appointment to the board.
Well, they'd always.
And there's no reason that
Did
I
they give it
can't.
to you in writing, Mitchell?
No, they didn't.
Well, let me ask you this, since we're talking about it, is do you do your yearly disclosure?
Yearly disclosure, sure. Got
Okay,
to.
do you list this on
You
there?
betcha.
Well, let me qualify something right now. I wasn't on any cahoots on any of this stuff. This was you can ask Jill, this was my question of why couldn't we use that before this was
I
even
said it
brought
was
up.
a question got brought up.
And
Why would
I
you
have
not
not talked
want
to either one of these.
Well,
any of y'all.
I guess here's what I would say is
If I had your number, I would have called you.
well, my
You
number's
can
out
give
there
me-
all over the
well, I
place.
can't. I'm sorry.
You could have called
could-
Chris. But you know, the
I
thing
called
about it is
people I
that
could get in touch with.
you know this you know where this is where I was really to the point to where I thought I'd been sandbagged. Is I've been going to all these meetings, and even the last one I went to, Mitchell didn't show up at, and Mitchell sets up and he tells, and the person that pulled it at the agenda meeting was Kelly Hodges. And he readily will admit it, and it was based on because Mitchell said the Solid Waste Authority wants to reconsider it. Now, if Mitchell says, I want to reconsider, it's one thing. There's a difference between saying personally and what the board. It wouldn't be so bad if our minutes didn't say it was fully approved.
Well, I think Kelly just stated.
Yeah, I don't
understand the
think-
significance of
No, I
saying
asked
you-
him 3 times. And how many depositions do you think I've done in my career?
A question came
Well,
up
I've done
about
few
some
also.
stuff. I mean, at the time, and so then, you know, you have to answer questions. Didn't you have any questions come
Let's,
up while you were talking to people out there? Because when I went
Well,
out
I
and
guess
visited the
the
people,
one thing
it
I'd
was
like to see you do,
questions.
Mitchell, is I'd like to see you go back to the municipal league and ask the question again and get it in writing.
About me serving on this
Yes.
board?
And then at a bare minimum, because a vote should be a good vote, is you need to get reappointed by Donaldson. Would you agree with me?
Hey,
You heard what Ralph said over the other night.
you serve until you're replaced.
I know that's what our bylaws say, but you know, except in very
That's
limited.
not our bylaws. See, that's a state law that when you're on a board like that and you serve until you're replaced.
Well, you know, maybe Ralph doesn't know what he's talking about. He said it would be subject to,
Let me make a suggestion. If you want to argue with me, why don't we save this for later? We're keeping all these good people here, and we've got other business.
well, I guess the question is, you got my number, and you stopped the vote the other night, and you did not call me beforehand. And that is just common decency.
I think if I remember correctly, I tried to call you and let.
No, you did not. My cell phone has every one of the calls. You want me to pull it out and go back through where they're all at?
Not right now.
Well, I know not right now, but I'm saying is, that's common decency.
Well, let's go on. We can argue later if you insist.
Well, I guess this is the next point I want to bring up too. Is last month I gave you a copy of this, that we're a corporation. Then I also gave you a copy back when the audit came out, saying we're a corporation. And you got it.
Yeah.
I'll pass it out to everybody. And then last month, if anybody wants another copy, I appreciate David's comments. We have this in here, the duty of care that's owed to this corporation. And I guess I go back to it when that ordinance was passed in November. You worked with people before. You worked with the quorum court. How did you satisfy your duty of care to this corporation when you did that?
Okay.
You trying to put me on trial?
No, I'm just asking.
Well, I suggest let's don't hold these good people here. Let's go on.
No. Here's the thing: is I'm not, like I told you, is I'm now going to start cutting square corners when it comes to the way things operate. And I'm just at this point in time, I'm glad it's being recorded. That way, if there's an interested taxpayer that wants to do something about it, maybe they'll do something about it. Am I going to do anything about it personally? Probably not. On the other hand, I will come back and I'll tell you what James Cranford says, and that is it's important sometimes for people to serve on the board. And simply because I'm saying this, Mitchell, I'm not saying that maybe Donaldson doesn't have another person to send up here, but you're going to have to balance the duty of care between these two organizations, and I don't think passing that ordinance balanced that duty of care. That's an organizational conflict of interest.
Okay, maybe you do what you have to about that, okay? What you want to. Let's go on with the meeting. We had a motion and a second, and I believe it passed that we're going to purchase the trailers. And
vote?
we're going to get some trailers.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Everybody at our plant does. Thank you.
Okay, let's. Where were we? That was
Old business, yes, sir.
We did not do the attorney's report.
Do what?
We skipped the attorney's report.
Oh yeah, sorry about
I
that,
have,
Dave.
I have very little report. I was at the district meeting and there was a spirited discussion over the Spring Fling event. I only mention it because it dealt with reimbursement due from the other members to Garland County for handling Spring Fling and overtime hours. I don't know if anything further will develop on that. I'm going to be at the next meeting to see if anything comes of it, but they were argumentative. I don't know what impact that will have on us. But other than that, I'm talking to Chris about a couple of things that the board's already made decisions on. So we're good.
Okay, any other old business? Okay, new business. We got bids on that tub grinder. And I'm gonna need some, you got me. Tabulate them. Record them.
I put a letter opener there.
Yes.
Tell me about it. they tell me anything.
We have a bid from Chris Williams, received June 16th, 2014, 9:45 a.m. Chris Williams, bid $601 on 2006 Precision Tusky Pro Grinder 2000 tub grinder, which is at 314 Reynolds Road. Gives his telephone number.
How much did he bid?
$614. $601.
601.
601.
Go ahead.
Did you-
Okay. Pass it around.
Just pass it around. Anybody wants to see it?
Do you want to see it? You don't need to see it? Okay.
Perhaps 10 times.
Yeah.
It was so cold, weighs 20,000 pounds. Well, that's at least 30 for
Okay, we got a bid from Dixie Surplus Machinery, Inc. Received on 6/16/14 at 12 noon. Boy, they just got on the wire, didn't they? No, that's, I guess.
No, it was actually received on Friday. I stamped
Oh,
the front there. Both of those came on Friday afternoon.
oh, that, they just note the time of the opening. Okay. Dixie Surplus Machinery, Inc. bids. We submit the following bid on equipment advertised for sale. Item 2006 Precision Husky Pro Grinder 2000 tub grinder at $13,678.
Who is that?
Dixie Surplus Machinery, Inc.
We want more.
I guess
This one? Keep on.
keep those together so they'll
Paper
hear.
clips.
Back in that.
Don't put it in there.
Oops. Carry it around with that, so we'll have the time on that.
Okay.
It's all fixed now. I know.
D Company. That's all it said, D, the letter D. 69 Bienville Trace, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. So we'd like to submit a bid for the 2006 Precision Husky Pro Grinder, $22,777.
$22,777.
$777.
We didn't get a bid from Clinton.
I contacted him, the man's name is Dwight Wilson, and he said what he wanted to do was to get somebody to grind for him, that they really weren't interested in buying a grinder. And I did contact Scott Fox with JCB, Vermeer. I talked to the salesman from Vermeer, and there was one more company that contacted me, but they didn't put in a bid.
Well, remind me if someone can, Chris or somebody, what did Blake ultimately evaluate this at?
$75,000.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
We had found a few online in similar condition for about 40, but he came with the 75,000.
What did he appraise it at?
75,000.
Our appraiser over here did?
Yeah.
David, is there any legal problem with us going ahead and accepting the highest bid, although it's considerably lower than
They're really low. I don't know if y'all are getting value, but in the current market, I don't know if you can get value, but they're really low.
I would
And
say
it wouldn't hurt my feelings if you turned it down.
Did anybody sitting here know what it weighs at curb?
what it weighs.
At curb,
I don't.
what do you think? 30,000 pounds? It's got 2 axles under the back.
Yeah.
Well, the axle's almost weigh that.
Just sitting under there? It just sits under there, not doing anything?
Yeah, it hadn't been used quite some time.
Which has
I
got
bought a
one.
new one.
Yeah,
That
probably
one's
one.
been fixed and it's just sitting
What's
there.
the price of steel now, Chris?
8 cents.
Oh, it's down to 140 a ton
Oh.
this month. Last
Yeah,
month was
17,
155 something.
yeah, 17. I seen some in Texas that they had new price of.
We might hold on to it for a month or so and rebid the thing.
You can do that, you can reject the bids and rebid it,
Feel
because they all come in
comfortable.
drastically low.
From a procedural standpoint, we got about 3/4. And I think there's code for that. Or get a different appraisal.
I guess what I'd suggest, if you can, Chris, actually pull those things offline. And maybe,
Yeah,
have
it
you
was
ever
only
looked at Rock
advertised
and
for-
Dirt?
I'm sorry.
You ever looked at the website Rock and Dirt? Yeah. They sell a lot of stuff, off-road
Angela
stuff.
and I looked at it before while we were waiting on the appraisal, and we looked up several of the same, similar condition that were for sale, and everything online was in the $40,000 range, and then he came back with the appraisal of $75,000 on it.
Well, David, how stuck are we with, if we go online and see most of us at 40, and Blake's saying 75, how scientific is his numbers?
I think his numbers are suspect. I mean, I think that, and the problem is that we've got the equivalent of a certificate from there of appraisal from the assessor. I think it's probably worth having that discussion with him on how accurate his numbers are. And see where we're at for comparable units, comparable quality.
Well, I guess I would suggest, is there a board member who wants to go over there with Chris and present these bids and tell us what's going on, or what's he think?
I would do it.
Okay.
I mean, I ain't got no problem.
I mean, I'd suggest that. I mean, I don't really have the time for it, but if someone wants to do that, I mean, we got to sort of work it some way. I agree with David, we got to somehow bridge the gap.
It's just too much gap there, yes.
I agree with you, Doyle.
It needs to be pulled and held. Redone.
You got
Make a motion for it, yes.
motion
So
to
hold on or to?
take,
To
Reject.
reject the bids and rebid it.
I'll second.
motion made and seconded to reject these bids and
I got it next.
rebid. Any discussion?
Would it be all right to go ahead with, under this motion, would it be all right to include the go ahead as David, or you had suggested, about asking the guy to look at his appraisal again and see how realistic was this $75,000, considering what we're getting on the bids that we reject?
Be great.
If you want to amend the motion to say that, that's okay with me, David.
Well, I would like to amend that into the motion to add in that Chris and myself will take these bids and show them to the guy that appraised it at $75,000 and see if he can tell us why there's such a disparity between what he says and what we're getting. And that would also give me time to maybe go online and work out and see what I can find about how much that thing weighs, because it might be
25.3.
25.3.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. The motion is to reject the bids, take them back, go back to the appraiser. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And then rebid it.
And then rebid.
Isn't that correct?
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Burnett,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Dodd,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Paredes,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Yerby.
Yes.
Chris?
The lady,
Do you contact these folks at bid?
one lady has already contacted me back today. She called a little afternoon and said, have we opened bids yet? And I told her no, I hadn't, but we would be opening most of the meeting tonight. And she wanted me to contact her back and let her know. That was going to be my question to y'all. Do I need to tell her that the appraisal came in at $75,000 and they were not close? She was actually the
Well, it's
Dixie,
it's
whichever
it's
one.
public record, so
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay.
We're driven by this public disclosure.
Just
Well, it's
tell-
always nice to know when you do bid on something that you didn't get it, and it's usually nice to know the reason why you didn't get it.
And be sure you tell them it's gonna be put up for rebid too.
And to get a little closer to that price.
Boost her up.
Did we vote that?
Yep. Weren't there any other new business?
I got a couple of new business. Not too long ago, Chris can fill you on the details. We lost all of our emails. And I'm of the opinion that since Chris can describe what she did to try to resurrect them, but AT&T said they couldn't be done, that the board should do a motion in a second essentially for the public record saying we've lost them, we tried our best to get them back, and anyway, we're not going to spend any more money trying to do it.
I did write up something you requested to put in the
Okay.
records, so it was saved on the computer, and I did print out a copy stating what happened. And if any of y'all got the email, I was not in the Philippines and did not lose my wallet. And
I guess I would ask
did not
David.
need
David, do you think we
$3,000
need a
to get
motion
home.
to say the board approved it, and that's why I think whenever it comes back, we don't have any emails available for probably the last 10 years?
I think that's a very sensible thing.
Anyone have any discussion about it?
Actually, Mr. Dodd, I almost think that the board could enter a finding,
Uh-huh.
almost as if a finding of fact, and if you wanted to, I think you could just have Chris walk through the process that she went through. And
Okay.
And then essentially have the board make that finding as a matter of public record.
Well, have you seen this? Is this sufficient, or
I have not seen that.
not seen
I
this?
said that.
Sorry to take your time up, but I think for public purposes, if we've lost our emails for 10 years.
Especially what's going on with the IRS. I mean, my gosh. Oh, that's happened to us too, huh?
Not have us mixed up with the Democratic committee.
Bad timing anyway.
Well, it's like Chris said, I guess we
But,
did lose
yeah.
some pictures and stuff like that we had saved there. And what surprises me, AT&T wasn't very, what would you say,
They said,
user-friendly
oh,
on trying to help
once
us get it
it's gone,
back?
It's gone.
Were you storing them online or something?
All of the emails in the basic AT&T.net account, the account was only started in 2010, is from what I had checked back to. I came in on the morning of the 12th, went to email something, and there was nothing in the email account. It said all folders were empty, all contacts were gone. And luckily, one of the contacts that was in there was not a valid email address, so somehow it returned it as an undeliverable mail to me. And I did get it. It's in there. I got a copy of the email back and all of the email addresses that it was sent from. It was an overseas, somewhere in the Russia,
So a
Greenland
virus, yes.
area. And they said they've been having problems with that. Whoever the person was got into our email account. They erased everything out of it back to a few of the sent emails. I've got quite a bit of the sent emails still in there. But it erased all the contacts and everything in the folders, and it sent a nice email to everybody in the contacts saying that I, Chris Walker, had been in the Philippines, and a band of thugs stole my wallet and all of my personal belongings, and all I had was a passport. And please send $3,000.
Wow.
And nobody sent
Anybody
me.
send
And nobody
Nobody
sent,
sent
oh,
me.
we weren't worried about.
And I'm still stuck in the Philippines,
Oh.
I guess. So
Hello and goodbye.
So what do you suggest we do,
I
council?
contact
I think
AT&T.
I think she's probably giving you all a factual basis to,
Okay.
to make that finding, just based on what she's described to you.
So I guess I'll make a motion that the board makes a finding that the AT&T emails were hacked in by the Russians, and we lost them all, and they're not available for to be provided to the public in the future from 2010 forward.
I would probably also mention that the efforts at recovery were unsuccessful based
Yes.
on what Ms. Walker had said, and that AT&T was less than helpful.
I adopt what our council has said.
We do have some flash drives that we can save all those emails to now, right?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded that we find emails have been lost.
No.
Is that it? Any discussion?
Stay home next time, Chris.
I know, I said I try to sneak off to the Philippines for one weekend and
Ready to call the roll?
yes, I'm sorry, could you tell me who made the second?
David.
No,
Raymond.
Raymond did.
Burnett,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Dodd,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Paredes,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Irby.
Yes.
I guess I have another point, probably somewhat contentious, but anyway, since we've been accepting Midway's money all this time, and we can defer to council, I think we ought to at least acknowledge that we're going to, as a board policy, we're going to continue to provide them with trash service, because they have steadily paid us ever since they've been a city. They're part of the 1%.
I believe we did an agreement, but that's been so far back, and I'm probably the only one left just when that happened, but we'd have to go
I
back
believe
to.
there's probably an agreement with Midway. I've seen something in the old files.
Was that
I think
before or
there's-
after they became a city?
I couldn't.
It was
remember
after.
that. I was
After.
wondering.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, if we have an agreement, then hey, just nothing. I withdraw the discussion.
I'll get with Chris and we'll review that and be able to report on it next month.
At some point in time, I don't know how we'd want to do this, but there's a number of budget items kicking around. We need to work that somehow. I'd almost say have some special meetings on it, maybe a committee or something. What's everyone's thought process? There's just a lot of work to do just to slug through stuff.
I think you're right.
Yep.
We need what you suggest, a 5-year budget.
Well, that's true. That's what I've been driving.
That would be great if we had one, but it's going to be hard to get.
Okay, now we need to address that 800-pound gorilla in the room, I guess. Those resumes for the administrator's position, the filing deadline is passed. How do we want to proceed on this? Do we want to try to do anything tonight? Do we want to take copies home and study them? Have call a special meeting? What's your pleasure? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, my own self, simply for that we have transparency, I believe we need to have a list of evaluation criteria, and we somewhat agree to it. What we think the essential nature functions of the job happens to be. So that way that we just don't, I'll be truthful with you, we all just don't look around here and we say, well, this is a pretty good one, and we all vote yay or nay, you know. But however, we can, maybe council's got something he would advise us to do.
What do you suggest, David?
Well, I would generally observe that in looking at resumes for hiring, this is David, whether it is long. I usually find it handy to sift through them and figure the folks I want to talk to further and the folks I don't. And I think Mr. Bowden's overall doing having a criteria making that decision information on who you're going to talk to and who you don't does have a lot of upside to it. And, really, it's a board's pleasure, whether you want to appoint a committee to either establish that criteria, or if you want to bring a committee to narrow down candidates and then describe the criteria that they use. I think all those avenues are open to the board.
The other thing I would suggest too is that, whether it be the top 5, top 4, top 3, top 6, we probably should sit down and interview them, and I think that would be wise.
How many we got?
13, I think 12, 13.
In the few hirings that I made while I was a district bridge inspector, we had a certain set of criteria that we went by to kind of help sharpen out which one knew the most to start with before you ever start the job. And a lot of it's got to do with common sense type stuff. And most of the time, when you get in your list like this, you could normally thumb through it and throw about 3 or 4 of them in the trash can right off because they're obviously not anywhere qualified. I mean, I've had that happen every single time that I had a job opening. And once you kind of cull it down to your top 3 or 4 people, well, then that's when I would start doing my interviews and bringing out what they knew about what they were going to have to be doing once they went to work for me. But it's, I really think that we need to take a little bit of time and look over what we got right here, and that'll also give us a little time to try to put together some of the criteria that we feel like that our administrators should meet and should be able to meet. And I don't think that you can just thumb through them and say, I like this guy right here or this girl right here or whatever.
Is there a
Well, what I would say is
description, a job description that's already laid out?
we don't really have one, but I did have, and did you actually get a copy of this electronically?
I never got the password.
You don't, okay. Well, I could certainly send another copy of this. I asked Angela about, say, the 1st of March. I said, before you leave, and I'm not I'm not endorsing this.
Yeah,
I think it's probably 80% there, but she did do it before she left. She outlined these 2 pages on what the criteria was. We can certainly send this around to everybody. We did pass it out at the meeting, and I'm sorry I gave everybody all except my 1 copy here. But what I can do is I can get it off of the computer again. Hopefully, I haven't happened to me what happened to Chris.
Actually have it right here.
You have it right here?
I can make copies.
Yeah, you make
before we go,
copies.
but
Yeah.
If you want
Okay,
to
well,
look at
if you
it
want to
now.
make, no.
And so essentially, I think if we work on
You have
that.
a good job description.
Yeah, and then we sit down and say this is the criteria. I believe we're 80% there. I'm not saying I agree with all of this. I know even Buddy talked in the past that the education is sometimes might be on the higher side, so might want to do something different there. But I guess.
But you looked that over and that was pretty good?
I said it's 80%. Like I agree with Buddy. I think the education's a little on the high side maybe, but there ought to be some way we can work out. We got to have a certain requirement here, and ultimately we got to get, as I see it, there's 2 things we need to ultimately do. And that is, I believe we can have, and we can talk to council, we can have a manager here to start with, but ultimately they have to get a Class C license, and they have
State requirement, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, but I think the biggest thing is we need to, and I even believe we need to encourage more of our employees to get to have Class Cs, simply because of training and all that stuff. But we now have, how many Class Cs do we have today?
I believe we have 5 right now.
5. Okay. So anyway, that's I guess we just need to finalize that and then look through the resumes.
That wasn't supposed to happen.
So what you're saying is then, what we need to do is have a committee to cut it down to about 3 to 5, and then let the whole board look at the rest, look at it from there?
Well, what I think, and this is just what I think, and I'm not trying to dictate to anybody, is yeah, I agree with David. You look at one of these in here, and I don't know how it got in here. It was a person wanting to be an operator. So that's pretty easy. You put that one aside. And then, if you get the criteria that Angela did, and we massage that a little bit, then that would be a guide, and we can all go through that. And then what I recommend, my own self, is none of these are perfect matches for us, I don't believe. Maybe one is, who knows? But, everyone has a different opinion. But then we actually sit down, and in an open meeting, we sit down, and I would almost say we schedule each of these people for an hour and talk to them, maybe 2 hours. And I admit if we have 5, that's 5 nights, but it's something that if we're going to do this right, because we're going to live with this person for another 10 years, hopefully.
That's a big responsibility for us.
Yes.
Okay, who's gonna massage the list?
Well, I'm pretty happy with the list, but I know you had a couple of changes on the education, and it's okay with me.
Let me see your list.
Okay.
I think she's got copies.
I think she's got copies now.
Do you want us to run?
Okay, I'll take a clean. Well, no, let's make sure everybody has a copy.
Thank you.
I think we'll get that shot. The only thing I would say more recently that we've been talking about is we might make another specific statement on safety. I'm concerned that we're not training our people in forklift operation and stuff like that.
Yeah, that business, bachelor's degree in business management, that's a stretch to make.
I guess the thing is, the alternate there is 5 years of business management. How much do you think that should be? 3 years? Or, that's an alternate.
Gosh, I don't know.
Well, you want to say at a minimum 2 to 3 years, maybe?
Yeah,
All right.
but I don't think it needs to have a bachelor's degree. Y'all?
Well, that's why it's got the 4.
Huh?
That's why
Well,
it has
that's-
4.
That's an alternative.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
In other words,
It's got
it's
4, not 10.
right. How about the 3 years minimum experience in computerized accounting? We got to have someone to do it, because in a way we're using Quicken books, but we might can dumb it down a little bit.
Did we not talk about too, we wanted someone that could do this instead of having James?
Jane, that's correct. Yeah, that's my view. I'd like to do that, buddy. But it might not work out that way.
Well, you know what, we could put that on there and ask some questions.
Okay.
And if it falls in there that these people have it or don't have it, or, one or two stand out that have that kind of thing, well, maybe there would be somebody would look at it a little harder than not.
Okay.
Looks like you now, that's my, that's my view.
Well, to be truthful with you, at the end of the day, I want to work in getting this 5-year budget together. But I'd like whoever this person is to really carry the ball in the future.
Carry the ball. I
And
agree
at the
with
same
you.
time, disclosing to us so that we know and we're not, I'll be truthful. When I went over to I went over to Foreign Court, I was asking questions, and I felt a little ashamed that I couldn't answer.
I guess the next question is, when do we start?
Well, somebody needs to sit down and say, cull these down to, let's say, 5.
Call these we've got?
Yeah, right.
You mean, we as a whole need to call them to 5, or?
The way we've done it before at school, whenever we've had a position open, we would have, like I said, we have a job description. Everybody goes through all of them. You bring your top 5, and then you see who was in everybody's top 5. is there 2 or 3 people that it is in everybody's top 5 or top 6, and then those that everybody liked, because there's bound to be somebody, 2 or 3 that are common to everyone, then, well, I don't know, in a group this size there may not be, but
I think we could probably.
but I
agree.
think we could do something similar to that, and then, you know, we could look at those that were that we all liked.
Okay,
and
I
then talk to
suggest
those.
this, that, you know, why don't we have a special call meeting to consider these resumes on June the 30th, that's a Monday. Somebody might be tied up, but
June the 3rd, what is that?
June the 30th, that's a Monday. 2 Mondays.
weeks.
Oh, I ain't got no problem Mondays.
Anybody need to see the calendar?
Meet that.
Yeah, that's what I.
But,
Yeah, breakfast, but it's afterwards.
What we've got to do is arrive at a salary too that we're gonna pay.
I think we'll probably figure that out when we talk to them, son, don't you, buddy?
There may be 1 or 2 that, yeah, you'll be able to, you know, they could come out with something as bad as that low bid, but they'll be on the other side.
Do we need to, do we want to make a motion on the 30th for a special meeting?
He can call it if he wants to.
I'll call it.
All right.
All right.
I'm assuming it's 6 o'clock still.
I was in there years ago. So you figure if you count, that's yours too.
Well, since we're working on this one thing, I'd say just hold off till we get the administrator hired to work on the budget. Some there's pieces there to be put together. One thing that if somebody wants to work on it, that is work on some sort of a presentation on a pay scale, something that works. Because right now, what we have is, I think we all came to the conclusion a couple months ago, just a statement out of the union agreement. We probably need to tailor something for us. What's that?
Which was never adopted.
I agree with you, Mitchell. I agree. You know, but we do need to, as a basic building block, because so much of our work is employees.
Well,
we should
we're
agree
talking
on that.
about looking at how to split this up, give some responsibility to people too.
Right.
Well,
But
Chris
coincidentally, Chris has already got us headed in that direction.
Good.
We visited with the, what's his name? The guy? Jay out at the big transfer station out there. And he's on top of that scheduling, dispatching the trucks and all that. And we see a big improvement there already in the amount relieving her of work and getting the trucks out there and getting those compactors emptied in a more timely fashion. So, yeah, we need to keep on going.
And I don't know if we've ever give out attaboys or whatever, but I've had some people tell me that the guy that runs the Donaldson station, isn't that who I said? Ed, is doing a bang-up job, so I don't know. But y'all might know more about it than I do, but they say he really does a good job.
I think he's the best one we got.
Well, give him an attaboy then.
Chris, that security that you got out there at the plant, at Fred Smith's place, can he watches the loaders, the load, the bins, he can see the fuel tank and all that stuff. Is that backed up?
I honestly do not know how that operates.
Is there a way it could be?
I honestly do not know how that operates. Lynn has worked that station. She could tell us.
Is it backed up as in recorded?
Yes,
Yes, 4 months.
4 months.
4 months.
Yes, sir.
What's back up
The
It's
video
recorded for 4 months.
of the
there? Oh.
yep, four
Okay.
cameras.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
no,
it's-
only 3 cameras for up to 4 months. unless there's a power outage and something happens and there's a glitch or you change the time on it or just, stuff happens.
With that fuel tank out there, that's the reason I asked.
Yes, they were, where the fuel tank is located, there's a camera that is directly on it, so
Yeah.
if anybody tries to
Yeah.
take any fuel.
I have one more point if I can. About a month to 2 months ago, on Justin Ernest's last day, I stopped out at the Fred Smith place, and the hole there is pretty substantial. We either need to dump some riprap in it, or we need to, I guess the one question I have, and I don't know, maybe Chris could call, I thought about calling the engineers, but is all that gravel underlain with that fabric?
I'm not sure on that.
Because I mean, if it is underlain with that fabric, all that's happening is that's just perking right into that gravel and just hitting that fabric and shooting out.
I have no idea if it's going to be good. I think it's going to be.
But I guess the other alternative that I had thought about that might solve it is if we took, and we wouldn't have to close the plant down, is just taking, essentially probably do concrete and everything from the scale on down. And then put in a culvert up there to run the water off when you come in. And that would probably take care of, 60 to 70% of the load. But on the other hand, if that fabric is under all of it, all that's happening is we got this, whatever that gravel is there, and it's just popping and it hits that and just shoots out. No wonder it shoots out when it gets full of water. But at a bare minimum, we do need to drop something, at least a load of gravel in there on that hole, because when I looked, it seemed to be at least 2 feet deep. And even though it's off to the side, if someone falls in there. Anyone have any pleasures or what we want to do?
I looked at it, and yes, the hole there needs to be fixed. And what you're saying about the pavement works to a certain extent. And it would include getting some kind of pipe or something, because when you pave it on there, everything's still gonna be forced to there. And
I think it's probably.
I honestly think you could do almost the same thing and not put down any pavement, but utilize cross ties just barely entrenched in that existing gravel, just a little bit where the road goes down, but mainly from the building down there to where the downspout is, and then use a little bit wider grouted riprap all the way down to that drain, and maybe put some grouted riprap down there around that drain where you won't get no swirl to wash out down there. I think that would be a cheaper alternative. It would take care of the problem. And because even if you had to come back in and dress your gravel up and replenish it a little bit, because you're gonna lose a little down that chute. But I don't think you'd lose the amount that you're losing now to where it's coming from all over, and it's. But that's the drain. I mean, that's the drain. That's where the drain's going to be, and so you've got to figure out how you're going to fix that to get all of that water off that parking lot down that one little chute and into that drain at the bottom of the hill. And if there's any way you can contain it, and so it's not spreading out and going down the road out to the outside. My first thought on it was curb and gutter, but if you're going to do curb and gutter, you might well asphalt the whole parking lot for the cost that you're going to have involved in it. But you could use a poor man's curb and gutter and do the same thing and get the water from the building down there to where it goes down that drain. And the other water from the scale house, that's where it's going. There ain't nothing you can do if you don't do a lot of dirt work out there. That's where that water's going.
The only reason I suggested a drain up there is there's water coming off the road. We should put a curb there when you come in. That would probably take care of about 20% of your water.
Well, the drain up there by the road's not a bad idea neither. Because that pulls some of the water off that winds up down there.
That's
if you could get it off up there.
I'm in favor of what you're doing. Whatever we want to do. I don't have anything. Biggest thing I did is when I looked out there, that's a pretty good size hole.
Yeah, it is.
We need to do something. Nothing else. Dump a load of riprap in there and figure out what we want to do. But at a bare minimum, we need to dump riprap in there.
That's probably the most expedient thing to do.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, I'll make a motion that we buy whatever is a economical load of riprap and dump it in that hole out there at the top of the drain.
Second. Motion second that we purchase a load of riprap, put in the hole at the super compactor station. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Burnett,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Dodd,
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Paredes.
Yes.
Wallace.
Yes.
Yerby.
Yes.
Okay. Any other new business? Public comment.
Yeah, he said.
Yes.
Yes, John Henry from District 6. I talked to several truckers. One contacted me and then one I contacted. Bozeman, Pee-wee, Lucky, Brown, and Bill Wiesner was concerned about the trailer issue. And personally, I'm a free market type of guy. And I know that there are trucking companies that would be able to take care of this situation with timeline. And I wonder if there's been any cost analysis that has been done versus the solid waste as compared to a private company.
I think the first thing, Don, you need to do, you need to ask them, since we don't pay fuel tax and we don't have to pay as much tax to register our vehicles, can they compete with that 30% differential? It's
Now,
between,
why
it's
do
between
I have to
25 to
ask
30.
that?
Well, I guess as, you know, there's 6 other board members here, but I'm.
No, I'm just asking the question, has there
No,
been
no.
a cost analysis?
Well, I
how much
guess-
it's gonna cost?
Right. Well, I guess what I'm telling you is, you know, based on being at a CPA since 1977 and accountant since 75, I've looked at this, and based on that 30% differential, it's really tough for anybody to overcome it. And it's 25 to 30%, you know, and so I'm not going to give you an exact number, but it's in that range. And the other thing is, I guess one reason why I'm in favor of it is, we take 13 tons a month from the recycle bins at the places, and to a certain degree, for us to effectively recycle that, we have to have the economy of scale to be able to do it. And our alternative is, we have that 13 tons, which is essentially household goods stuff, we're gonna have to haul that to the landfill.
Let me ask you this question, down the line, say a year from now, is there gonna be a cost analysis to see how much it's costing to do this?
I will guarantee you this, Don. When all of this budget is done, it'll take me time, along with anybody else that wants to work with me, we'll give you a high level and an intense cost analysis. Anything you'd like different, once you get it in the Excel spreadsheet, I can punch it out and give it to you however you'd like it. And if you'd like to be involved in the process, we invite you.
No, I'd just like to see some hard figures on it, that's what I'd like to see. And it seems to me that this process should have already been done before we made the decision to do what we've done. And I haven't seen, I've seen the cost of trailers, but I haven't seen the cost of how much it's gonna take to take the trailers there and take the trailers back. So, you know,
You're gonna have to move that material, whether you haul it to where you're gonna sell it at, or whether you haul it to the dump. If you haul it to where you're gonna sell it at, you're gonna use so much fuel, and you're gonna pay the man to do it. But they're gonna pay you money when you get there. If you haul it to the landfill, you're gonna have to buy fuel, and you're gonna have to pay the guy that drives the truck down there to dump it. But they're gonna want you to pay them $19 so that you can dump it there. And so the cost analysis,
I believe you just.
to me, almost makes itself. You don't have to make one. It's the difference between spending the money and then spending more money when you get there to dumping it, or spending the money and then having somebody pay you when you dump it. There's just,
And we're obligated to take the product.
Yes, we
We're
are.
obligated to have a plan.
Obligated to have a plan.
Have a plan. We are not obligated to take the product.
And we
And
have
we
a
don't have to
legal
do it
right
for
to
free.
charge,
And we
to
have the
assess
right to
fees, to
charge as
charge,
much as we want. And if they want to take our fee, they want to pay our price, then we'll do it. And if they don't want to pay our price, then they'll go somewhere else. Just like every other business in every other county does. And that's the part I keep, trying to figure out. Why do we want to lose money on it? I mean, I'm not sure.
I would like to see your figures where we're losing money.
That's fine. I mean, if you wanted to make some copies, I don't know where the copier is, so.
She'll make some for you. You don't mind.
You can show me where it is, either one, it doesn't matter.
I just need one
One,
myself.
he just wants one.
I'll take one.
Okay.
Two. I'll take one too.
I don't want to get involved.
You two will.
You know, this was as complicated when I first got on this board as it's turned into now.
Well, buddy, I tell you this, that to a certain degree, we might have been a little bit asleep at the wheel.
Oh, yeah. Definitely, people have been asleep at the wheel.
Some
Maybe
more.
not us, but some people have been for several
And
years.
I'll tell you the other thing too is that, based on the time we spend here, my own self, it takes a year or two, or even 3, to start figuring out all the pieces. Like, it was like when we was over the other night at the solid waste at the Quorum Court, and they asked why that check came over there. Just from experience in other boards, I sort of knew why it was, but I'd always thought all of our insurance was totally independent from the county. Now, I didn't really need to know that, but
It is independent, but we're a writer off of it.
Right.
Okay, any more public comments? I want a motion to adjourn.
you got it right here.
This meeting is adjourned.